in Galita, once in a lifetime kind of job. And I vacillated and didn't want to do it, but I eventually said I was going to do it, and then they canceled the job. So I took a hiatus, and Brent was already starting his job. I was the first job he did for the Caltrans. We were a paver at Gradeway. And Gradeway was a company that was absolutely stellar because they had a Bill Gates. It's not the same one, but they were really, I mean, it's just a supercharged place to start. And so, you know, Tim was there during the summers, and we were on a very exceptional job, and we had a lot of support. And so I went and did something in environmental work in Montana for 5 years. And then when I was ready to start a family, that's when I came back. So they've been here 33, I've been here 27 years.
So a little color commentary there. In college, Alan had the ponytail and claws, and I was a very red neck. So
I was from Sunset High.
Anyway, that's how we got started.
So we covered kind of why you started the company. So you talked about the $50,000 not going very far. So how did you make that up funding wise to keep going?
Staying ahead of bill collectors for several years. And we did a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and just worked hard. I mean,
there were a lot of weeks where Brent and I didn't take home paychecks.
Cruz did. I can remember one time going to the cash machine with my American Express and taking out $100 bills so I could deposit it to make payroll. So it was but Joel, the other thing we did is we worked like 16 hours a day. We actually, when we finally landed in Portland, we finally got on with building contractors. And of course, we did more work than we had people and equipment to do. So we work one job for 8 hours, and then we pick up and we go work another job for 8 hours. And we did that months at a time.
When he says we pick up and go work another 8 hours, that meant I'd get in the John Deere 510C backhoe, drive it down 217 to the second job for a day, and then work, and then I'd take it home that night to drive it to the job the next morning.
You know, just creative stuff. I mean, I remember we did a job out in Gresham, and we couldn't come up with a water truck, so I went and bought a whole bunch of garden hose at Fred Meyer's, and we set up sprinklers, and they ran sprinklers all weekend, so we get the original ground compaction done. Just, you know, if you run your calculator, it works, it makes money. And what we were paying laborers at the time, you know. But so you know, if you imagine I'm 26 years old, Alan's not around yet, Tim's with me, and I'm basically hiring Tim's younger brother, Eric, who runs our company Crestline up in the Dalles, all his buddies on the soccer team at PCC, and any other kid I could get of that age. We actually finished our first big building pad because we couldn't get it perfect. So we just put a string line up and got some 2x4s out to finish her off. And there was a job out off Shoot Road where I ran my calculator. We didn't have enough crew to go, but we had to put 2 inches under slab sand down. I delivered the under slab sand in a wheelbarrow, and kids spent 3 days, but we got it all done. 25,000 square feet. So it was just creative and hard work. And we had some kids working for us that were hard workers. And we were all working. It wasn't like we weren't all physically working. We were all working. So we just, there was a problem, we figured out how to get it done, and we kept our promises. And, you know, if you look at the other thing you gotta remember, this is 1988, January 1st, 1988 is when we started. So unlike a lot of kids these days that quit in the middle of summer and every civil contractor, which really hurts, we quit, or I quit in Thanksgiving 1987. And in 1983, interest rates were 18%. About 3 out of 4 grading contractors in Portland were bankrupt. So I showed up here in 1988 saying, I'm the greatest grading contractor you ever met. And builders wouldn't touch me. So we actually had to go back down to California, and I did a couple highway jobs. And we got to, and we went to build those as a son. So, you know, was a challenging start to say the least. Our big break came in 1989 or 90, I can't remember which, but Baugh Construction, which is now Skanska, they had a company called Baugh Industrial. They were doing a bunch of work for a steel mill. And like I said, builders wouldn't touch us. But I'd been in their office and I snuck past the secretary. I went from door to door to door to see who the estimators were. Finally dropped enough cards where this guy that I never met picked up one of my cards and says, I got 2 hours. I don't want a rating number out here. And so, of course, scrambled, did the job. And that job, we were there for 3.5 years. Working steel mill, that was something out cash wise. And then things changed. That was, we were ahead of the game cash wise. We were building the crew. Still didn't have great crew, but as far as talent, we were building our own talent. And by the year 2000, we had the best talent. And we did everything at that point. Site work, we did the steel water line along Highway 26. We did 72-inch water line coming up. If you imagine 72-inch water line coming out of Forest Grove for 3.5 miles. Some big jobs. And anyway, that's how it all grew. Now, during that time, we've had a negative net worth a couple of times. As politics go, and never on a private owner, but on public works owner, where politics get involved. The 72-inch water line in 2001 was a $12 million job that ended up being $21 million. And about $16.5 million they quit paying us. Yeah. So, we weren't deep pocket. That was a stretch. We went out and bought a $600,000 excavator at the time. It's big machines to get the job done. And so we were laying it out on the line. And it took a year as attorneys, but it came down to one of our old professors. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Lee Schroeder of Oregon State. But Lee Schroeder came to a meeting one time, and we were trying to negotiate the owner hired C.H. Hill to bury us. And Lee happened to be his professor in college. And 15 minutes later, the guy goes, "Oh, I see. You're right. You're doing right." So, we were doing a lot of crazy stuff at the time. That's what built our office in Woodburn. That's what the money came from. And since that time, we've been on our way. We've been in business now for 33 years. 33 years. This question here says, how do we stay relevant? How do you not get complacent? So the day we started, our goal was to do 20 million in sales in 10 years and 100 million in sales in 20 years. And believe it or not, we hit those goals. So the interesting thing was, we didn't care if we made any money, as long as we didn't lose anything during that time. That was such a goal that we completely did some crazy stuff. And one of the interesting things that we did, like a year and a half before our 20 years, we started a bridge company with a couple guys from F.U. Lord called Cascade Bridge. And we set them up on a deal where we owned half the company and gave them $20 million in bonding, $500,000 in cash, 50% ownership, and we let them have a buyout. And at the time, it was the thing to do because of all the
OTIA.
All the seismic retrofit projects. So we made a lot of money off that deal. About 5 years later, we bought us out. We've done a lot of things like that. We put, we're always challenging ourselves. There's no complacency. Even, so a year ago, or a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago, we decided we're going to sell to employees, current contractors, to employees, and that kind of lit a spark under us. And since then, we've been excavating. We union company here in town. We've grown them from 1 million to 4 million a year this year. We bought the Weisel rock pits. They were selling about 3.5 million a rock a year. Right now, we're on track for about 9 million. That's a year and a half ago. We've also started another business I won't name because we want our competitors to use it. But so very entrepreneurial. No, it's all about the numbers. It's all about what we know. It's not about what we don't know. We're familiar with all those things. You know, Obama years. You guys have helped me out here anytime. So in 2008, we were struggling. We went from 100 million a year, and we were looking at it, and we were estimating about 35 million. And they said, "Oh, we're going to do all these shovel-ready projects." Well, shovel-ready project meant that ODOT was going to go out and fill up all the old F-mix, which was a bad asphalt they put down for a decade, and replace it with a new mix asphalt. So we've been in the asphalt business. So Brick, I don't know if you know Brick's Paving, but that was another company that started Get Curb Contractors. Brick Obi was with us early on. Mistake I made Brick an owner. These two had to wait. I should have made it the other way around and then Brick on the bench. But so he was with us for 4 years, and then he decided he wanted to go off on his own because he didn't want to work Fridays and Saturdays. We worked in the summertime. At that time, we worked in August and July. Probably July, we worked 7 days a week, 3 weeks. 6 days a week the other. In August, we worked 7 days a week. We don't do that anymore because we like to have employees.
Learned about this thing called work-life balance.
So anyway, so in 2008, we decided, oh, this is going to be easy. We'll just sell a bunch of our articulated trucks and we'll go buy an asphalt plant. And that was in the asphalt paving business. And so that's still in our business plan today. We do about 250,000 tons of asphalt a year. And with the plant, without the plant, in town and out of town. But we're mainly freeway pavers. We don't do parking lots. Unless it's a very big parking lot. And it's not a function of size. It's a function of the mentality of the guys that pave freeways versus the mentality of the guys that pave parking lots. They're not the same people. And that was a challenge. I mean, I will have to say that that was like 2009 and 10. I said 2008. That was 2009 and 10. So we had to go through some learning curves. We had to build a crew, all that. In the meantime, you know, the market was not in best shape. But we're tough. We did it. So there's really nothing that has to do with. I should say we like challenges, and one of the reasons why people like to go to work with curb contractors is that we have plenty of contractors like Northwest Earth Movers or Cameron, and they build subdivisions, and that's great, good for them. But if you build 25 subdivisions, you're going to find out that you're not really all that interested. You know, it's pretty mundane. Not at the curb contractors. You know, every day we go to work, there's new challenges and something to learn and something to be excited about. We built jetties, and there's not very many people in Oregon that have built a jetty. Yeah. Other than that, we're the only Oregon contractor in our duration that's built a jetty on the Oregon coast. So there's international, national contractors. So we built the airport road, right? When we drive into Portland Airport and pick up a passenger, we built that area, paved it a few years back. You know, we worked for the big builders, Hoffman and Dunn, and on some very challenging, great work.
Perlo at the Ganska.
Sorry, did you work on this side?
We did, we actually did the dirt work for this building. This is a bread and butter. If you look, if you ask me what is the best thing for contractors to do, this is what we do. Because we bring horsepower to this as far as equipment and people and trucks, and rock in, rock out, you know, need symmetry. We do all of that in-house. And so we've geared ourselves to say average data on that, which is an interesting thing to say, but it's not a stretch. If there's a problem, we want to have a solution for the people we're working with. We don't want to come in and say, well, we're depending on a subcontract, you know, this kind of work. We don't. You know, it actually took a long time for us to get work with the program. And it's been a great relationship ever since we started. So
You mentioned that you set a couple goals over the years and you kind of blew those out of the water. So learning from those experiences, how are you approaching setting those goals now with the size and success you've had?
I've heard that the bottom line's a lot better than the top line.
yeah, I will agree with that 100%. Yeah, there's some advantages to having market share, but Tim's exactly right. On the top bottom line is important, and it was important then too to be able to grow. And you know, if you ask during any that time, or if you ever asked me how much you're going to do this year, well, I'm going to always tell you 15% more than I did last year. 15% more than we did last year, and for the most part, we make that. There are, as all of us know right now, there's challenges out there that are unprecedented, and you know, with materials and people, and everything. You know, if you ever know an excavating contractor, they usually don't like truckers, but you need them, right? We need 100 a day, but when the trucker calls you up and says, I'm no longer working nights, or I'm no longer working weekends, and people start dictating because of such shortages everywhere, it just puts more stress on it. And I'm sure that the builders know when they're working at the airport, they're working nights or they're working weekends, they've got closures. There's a lot of coordination there. For us, our freeway side, when does anybody want us to build the freeway?
Anytime I'm not on it.
So it's nights and weekends, right?
From 11 to 5.
Yeah, and so when you're interviewing somebody and saying, hey, you're gonna have the greatest job in the world, you're gonna be going out on 205, we're gonna build a bridge across Sunnyside Road, you know, our ships are gonna show up at 9 o'clock at night. We get off work at 7 in the morning. That's not a great sales point. So you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. And you gotta, you know, that's the one thing I would tell you, that all three of us are born endless amount of passion for what we're doing. So it's not a stretch to get up in the morning and say, let's go get this. I mean, there's probably a job that will give us more anxiety than any job we've ever had coming up on Highway 217. It's a $135 million job redoing Highway 217, one end to the other, on all the intersections and putting in side streets. And you got to sit down to imagine how screwed up things are going to be out there, and how your trucks are going to be stuck in their own traffic, how you're going to have to figure this out every day, how obnoxious this job's going to be. But you know what? That's the challenge. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, build whatever freeway you want, just don't touch 217.
Give us another choice, we'll do it.
Go ahead.
I got a quick one. So going back a little bit, when you're you mentioned the gentleman from Morgan State. Is there an individual, a banker, a vendor, a bonding company that really stood out to help you get the ball rolling, really kind of above and beyond?
Yeah. So in 2001, we had a negative net worth of $3 million. and Safeco was our bonding company. And I had to meet with the bonding agent once a month. And the banker once a month. I finally just got them all together, we'd have lunch. And I explained what was going on. And during that whole time, Safeco stood behind us and gave us bonds. They knew we were in a fight. So, yeah, those very, I mean, that they could have just turned off the spigot. We would have figured something out, but it would have been tougher. Yeah, in fact, during that time, they actually gave us a bond to go do a jetty job, which is the highest risk job that we ever did. So it was, I scratched my head on that one. They gave it to us. And we went. And they became Liberty bonding.
We've got a couple of old salty dogs in the house, like Todd down there, and okay, you're old now, friend, sorry. We grew up, like you're saying, the 6-7 days a week, crazy shifts, like that was normal. How do you, or what's been the shift to get to that work-life balance, and how are you retaining employees with what I consider the new normal? Because it's new to me with having to pivot to what hours would you like to work?
Yeah.
You know, it's different. So what's been your experience? How have you managed to retain?
I'm probably not the guy to answer that.
That's not my answer.
Yeah, right. That was a good pivot.
That's funny. It was a tough pivot. It's been a tough pivot. We're still pivoting. We're as Brent said, we were go for so long, and you know, we've had this passion for so long, and we're realizing that some of the guys that work for us don't have that same passion. And so we're certainly, for the last 5 to 8 years, you know, we've slowly changed policies, whether it's vacation or when you can take it, and I can't tell them when they can take it. Or, you know, it was given that we were working on Saturdays. And if it wasn't in the field, the office guys better be in there on Saturday. You know? There's 3 office guys in there Saturdays right now. It's these 2 right here. And the new guys just don't get it. They don't want to do it. And it's different. I understand it. They've got families, they've got kids, and their priorities are different than they were for us. I spent more time with Brent than I have with my wife, knowing him. And I've just got used to it. And my wife has as well, which is good. But, you know, at some point, we are changing. We realize that we need to have a kinder and gentler world out there for our employees.
Our statement is we'd rather have you for 40 hours than no hours. So we reward those people that will go the extra mile greatly. But our statement is we'd rather have you for 40 hours than no hours. And so it's voluntary. And I do a lot of begging on Friday afternoon. Mechanics especially, right? For us, it's mechanics especially.
So as a business owner, owners who have grown a company, built a company, grown a company, is there a work-life balance for you when you're the responsible?
That's, you know, I love my work-life balance, but I like to work. And so I want to say one more thing. These 2 guys and I, in 33 years, you know, we've yelled at each other a little bit, but you couldn't have 2 better or 3 guys that get along better in your life. And we've all found our niches and respect each other. And we don't have, and it's not about money, right? It's, you know, if you look at our core values, doing the right thing is what it's about. And we don't nickel and dime each other. We don't even worry about it, right? So if Alan needs to go to Italy for 3 weeks with his wife, they go. Yeah. You know, so there's just, that's the way it is, right? Respect what we've done together and what we're doing together and what we accomplish together as a team. And if you can get that with your next generation, they don't have to work 80 hours a day. Number one, I'll tell you, the way I look at our business for the future, the next 30 years, because there's going to be fewer and fewer of us. So you're going to pay us more and more and more. we're gonna be able to charge more and more. It's gonna be incredible, right? There's always gonna be some competition, but for great, talented people, there's gonna be high demand. So, we gotta find that fine tune, and it's always gonna be there, because some owner's gonna have some requirements, right? And you're gonna have to learn how to fit it. I always call it fit the puzzle together. You're gonna have to learn how to fit the puzzle together with the people, and we do that.
So speaking of people, and you mentioned earlier, kind of recently in recent years, you've made some more employee owners. Talk about a little bit about that after building this business and planning succession. Kind of what went into that planning and how'd you make that decision to kind of make stakeholders with it?
So when we started together, our statement was our kids aren't gonna own this business. People that help build it, when we're done, we're gonna own this business. And so that's what we're trying to do. Tim will run the details down on the process that we made, but I will tell you that I'm working harder now on trying to transition the business and dealing with more stuff than just going to work every day.
And somebody should have said that, because that's an ice bucket challenge. You're gonna have to work harder to transfer it to someone else, because you're gonna have to give it to them, but they're gonna have to take it. You can't expect someone to just come and say, I'm gonna start doing half what you do, because you're still sitting in the seat. It's gotta be a gift.
Listen, it's a different mindset than most people. That the smart guy, I'm not the smart guy. The smart guy goes to work for a company and becomes an owner as the other owners transition out. So the people behind us are smarter than we were. The guy that,
They're managing a machine going 80 miles an hour on the railroad tracks too, though. It's not quite the same when we start.
right. So to build it takes a long time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money going back into the business that somebody stepping in our shoes isn't gonna have to do. So it comes down to our people. So if we pick the wrong 4 guys and they don't like each other, business will blow up in a matter of a couple of years. If their wives can't get along, it'll blow up in a couple of years. I mean, it's that when you're sitting down and signing your house away to the bonding company, right? Where's our bonding? Where's the guy from Anchor? Yeah, the guys from Anchor. When you're signing your house away to these guys to get a bond, your wife has to be all in.
Or husband.
Or husband, sorry, I should be sexist. I don't. In our case, it was all right.
What would you say is your biggest mistake that you learned?
Sorry, I'll repeat that. Question was, what would you say the biggest mistake you've learned the most from?
The first thing I'll tell you is that I always say if I make the right decision 51% of the time, I'm doing good. It's a matter of how fast you correct the wrong decision is success or not. So that's the first statement. Yeah. As far as the biggest, let's see, there was Joe Cassidy and
I would say, probably one of the bigger mistakes we've made is been a recent one in a market we didn't know well, and trying to jump up to the Seattle market without having people in place that we could trust, or having enough of the people in place that we could trust, and not the right mix of work for us to do there. It's a union town up there, and we tried to jump as a non-union guy, and so we paid a pretty hefty price for that. We're still paying, but we did, we pivoted when we figured out what we had done. We got the triage kit out, and we've been up there helping, solve some of those problems, but it's a tough lesson.
So on that note, I guess the challenges you face today with where your company's at versus the challenges you faced 20 years ago, how have those changed? Speaking to maybe a young business owner that's doing similar thing to what you guys have done.
Gotta figure them out. That's for sure. You gotta focus on managing the cash flows and all of the work and to keep your people busy and you know, that's a much bigger proposition now than it was before.
All in, there's about, in all our companies, there's about 400 people. And so that is a full-time job. I mean, whether you're going to somebody's husband or wife's funeral, or somebody has cancer, or people are leaving and coming, yeah, needs. There's a lot more of that than it was. It was so easy when there was 25 people. You knew everybody. You knew everybody's name. You knew everybody's spouse. You knew their kids. When you get to somewhere around 200, there's, I mean, you're wondering who that guy is that's working there. Yeah, and it's not a function of trying to change our atmosphere. I think our character is that we care for people. I mean, we had a recent tragedy in one of our administrative assistants lost her husband. He was driving his motorcycle and got killed by a car. And so you know her, know it all. Company came together. We were taking care of it financially. Went to the funeral Saturday. You just do what you can for people because they're what make the business. I mean, as good as we think we are, without them, we're nothing. So, and they watch. People don't understand. I always say that bad habits start at the top. So, you as at least in our company, we keep our P's and Q's. There's no, toe the line and everything, right? So, watch. If you want people to be honest and straightforward, you better be honest and straightforward.
So what helps you, things you've learned, developed internally to help attract and retain those people, especially when you get up into those numbers of 400 employees? It changes, right? Right. So what are some of the keys for you guys?
First thing I'll tell you is you can always recognize passion. And there are a certain number of people that want to be outside and they like machines and that's what they're going to do for a living. So those people you have, they're hooked, like what we do, they like doing the work you're doing. Then there's people that don't necessarily like administrative people in our company. We try to get them out, but I mean they're not turned on by that. So then it's a function of treat with respect. When one of our main competitors, we had a payroll lady that left us because she wanted to work from home. And so again, I've done this. I said like 4 months earlier, we're never going to work from home, right? And that lady believed me. Maybe said, we're going to start working from home.
Just you're not going to work.
So anyway, so we put an ad in the paper. One of our competitors, main accounting person, had worked with us in the past on some projects, and she was there. And because of the way we treat people, respect the staff, so one of the things I do with Babylon here, but one of the things I usually do at our Christmas party is describe how we get a job. When it comes through the door, the receptionist has to be polite on the phone, right? Then it goes into estimating. They've got to answer the phone, give a detailed estimate, and go above and beyond and try to help solve any issues that project may have. And then when we're able to get a job, we have to show up on time, complete the schedule on time. So then that client wants to use this again. If any of those things go wrong about the project. So that's what I try to tell everybody is that every key person along the way, from the receptionist to the president, is important in the process, just as important. If any one of those people don't do their job correctly, with passion, if you pick up the phone and you call Chris Contractors and they say, "Their contractors, can I help you?" I mean, how motivated are you? What do you think about that company? Right? Not very much. If it's good morning, it's a beautiful day. This is Kirk Contractors. How can we help you? That's a different term. So everybody in the entire process.
But you gotta have any more engagement too. You gotta be listening for the cues, the people that work there that, you know, and you said this a week or so ago. I mean, there's been a couple times when, you know, you miss an opportunity to, you know, get ahead of an issue and engage someone to try to see if there was something I could do. And, you know, if you aren't paying attention, you know, you're just gonna miss it. And I think there's a lot of things about the people that are starting now that require a lot more, you know, call it handling, call it engagement. That's what it is.
Good correction.
Talk a little about what you're doing in your community to get the youth kind of possibly passionate or interested in your heavy.
That'd be civil.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that we just did recently is we got some people that, you know, our office in Woodburn, and we're trying to feature a lot of the Hispanic, you know, population there. And, you know, outside of the Portland Metropolitan Area College, it's not necessarily an entitlement. And that's a group of people that, you know, we have a lot of diversity in our workforce, but that's one place that you can try to make you know, an advance in trying to communicate to people, hey, this is a living wage job. We have lots of opportunities. You have a job for your lifetime and your kid's lifetime. That's a change of, it takes people who can speak the language, and you've got to make the adjustment to say, we're going to pair you up with someone here. And it's a commitment, but that's one place that you can try to engage the people that are serving around our office.
The other thing is we've gone from high school to high school and dealt with career counselors. Quite frankly, I think they're problematic at best because of the way they see construction. They don't see it as, you know, I walk in the door and say, this kid works for us 4 years later, we're making $100,000 a year. No question in my mind. And if he wants to show up to work on time and put in a hard day's work. And that's what we need hours a day, right? So, because certified payroll is what, $44 an hour for not hours operated now, plus 16-hour fringe. So the career counselor still got it in their mind that, you know, I'm going to give you all the kids that are going to end up in jail. And so you have to get past that person and get to the kids that are good kids, but they have no motivation to go to college. They've had enough school. You know, they're like working on it. To me, kid shows up in a 4-wheel drive pickup, this 1976 model. And he's jacked it up and he's got big tires on it. God, we own him. Okay, but so you got to get past the kid that, you know, has got problems and is more likely to end up. I don't know if anybody goes to jail anymore, but you know, won't show up. So, because there's a lot of good kids out there, and you just got to filter through them.
We've also found out that, you know, we can find a lot better talent out in the farm communities that will help us more than coming into the inner city schools recruiting. You know, in Woodburn, St. Paul, Yamhill, Carlton, those kids have a work ethic. They've been working on the farms. And so if we can get them in the door and those guys get a taste of what they can be making, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So a kid that goes to work at McDonald's at 16 can work 27 hours a week or something like that. You can't use any machinery, and you can't do this, you can't do that. A kid that's 14 years old and gets his 4-H tractor license, can go work 16 hours a day driving a tractor, pulling swath at 14. Next year he'll be baling. So I mean that's a work ethic. Number one, they learn how to grease a machine, you know, all the things that you want. Now, farmers are starting to pay more too, so it's, they're not coming cheap, but that's okay. It's one town.
Yeah, that farm work ethic is kind of inherent in the kind of the heavy civil market of construction. So when you get those people in, what kind of training program, internal training do you do? Because you're basically training your own workforce, right? You're not relying on a union or somebody else to do it. You're doing it the way you want it to be done. So you talk a little bit about your approach to training the people so they stay with you long term.
So, every day an apprentice is on the job is being trained. You know that everybody wants to have a book and we're gonna have a classroom. Well, how does that relate to running an excavator or a loader or putting pipe in the ground? Now, what we do is we put together a crew of newbies and we'll go out on a private job.
You almost said a pearl job.
On a private job with shallow pipe. Shallow pipe, something 4 feet or less, storm usually to begin with, and we'll get them to put pipe in, and then they just graduate up from there. So it's the job site's really we certainly put them through a safety program. They come in and they've got to go through the gauntlet in our safety manual and safety training and safety videos and that kind of thing. But the training really happens for a field person in the field, and it's very deliberate.
One of the ways we've got people to buy into that is that we've given them half price on equipment for training. So some of the superintendents now have figured out, God, if I can train those crew and half the cost of the equipment's going to my job, that's a pretty good deal. So at the end of the day, all of our guys are incentivized by their job costs when they're done. So.
And we also have an award every month for trainer of the month. So that person has $100 or something, but they get known, they're getting put up on our Facebook. We have an employee of the month, and trainer of the month. And so, we try to recognize those people, if not, but, our training people. And because that's where it is. I wish I would have started a church 30 years ago and I had all these parishioners so I could draw all their kids to the construction company, but I didn't. So, so we have to do it out of our community. We have to work hard to get there and keep it busy. The other thing I'll say is coming to work for per contractors, you're a 12-month-year employee. There's very little layoff. And we're forecasting a lack of work. We just get skinnier and more aggressive. And our pricing. And literally, I don't know, when was the last time we had anybody really sitting at home?
Only when they were begging to.
Yeah. So we're very good at that. And it's what you have to be as an open shop contractor. You do have union arms, but as an open shop contractor mainly, there's no hiring call to send them back to. Our office is the hiring call. And if we send them out and we're not working them, they're looking for a job. They need to feed their family. So we take that seriously.
Was there a point when you started that you were emulating a company or that you were trying to be like a company? Or was there a point that you said, oh, we did our own identity?
I think we always had our own identity, but we certainly looked around. And one thing, we took a lot of great ways, accounting practices, job costing, type of work I'd like to say, but we figured out shortly they did great rock and pave. And in Oregon, you start to get great rock and pave. So we ended up doing pipe. And for many years, pipe was the majority of the work. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but so we emulated them. You know, as far as the type of work, you're always looking at to see who's doing what. And when we started doing jetties, it looked like Kiewit was doing all the jetties, and we thought, well, we could beat them. And so we went out and started beating jetty work. There's not a lot of it, but it's always an emergency or for the most part. For us, it was an emergency scenario. And like that, motivated owner. That's the other thing. I mean, in our 33 years, the best owner is a motivated owner to get the job done. Not all public agencies are motivated.
So one of the things, transitioning a little bit, one of the things that the market here a lot is Curves buys and sells a lot of equipment. So how did that fall into your business model? And I know you're giving away trade secrets,
No,
but
it's not a trade secret. So it's really simple. In the early days, in order to have a good mechanic, you got to keep him busy 12 months a year. And mechanics are expensive, and we didn't have that much equipment to work on. So we started buying some equipment to rebuild, keep the mechanic busy. And so we started, something like another, said, well, we'll make money with this. And so, last year we sold $10 million worth of equipment. So it's, we actually, last year we have an actual equipment dealership. We're a new equipment dealer for Hitachi and Sky. So one of the things that you learn, so excavating contractors, their net worth is tied up into their equipment. And believe it or not, most excavating contractors are idiots when it comes to taking care of, maintaining, evaluating, but that's where all their money's. And so that just, one thing led to another, and we recognize the fact that, that's our asset, that's our net worth, let's take care of it, learn how to manage it correctly. So we did.
And so, for us, I mean, we're trying to bring people in, like estimators and stuff, and you'll talk to them and find out, well, how come you guys do this or that? Well, we can't bid a job like that because we don't have any equipment like that. And so it's great selling points, whatever we need, we're going to get. And when we're done with it, we'll get rid of it. Yeah. But I mean, we never shy away from opportunities because we can't get it. And you'd be surprised how often that comes up.
Absolutely.
We have a project right across the street. You guys have probably driven by it and seen a mountain of rock over there. And the client who picked us to do the work picked us because our competitors told them it was going to take 4 years to do that project. And we told them they could do it in a year. It was about 1.2 million tons of rock, 1.2 million tons of solid rock on the job. At one point up there, we had 2 D11s, 2 D10s. And nobody else has that gear. We had it, we could get it done. So it's been a fun job. We got a lot of rock if you guys need rock.
Are you guys supercharging the soil there?
Yeah, I think, it's funny you asked that because we did get paid to surcharge that piece from the set. But not that it's kind of squished right now.
So speaking of equipment, how's the Tier 4 regulations in the future?
It's been a disaster. I mean, this is what I'll tell you. The most perfect diesel engine on average for any kind of industrial use built, the best one ever, was built in 2001. So we had great fuel economy, and we didn't have very many sensors, so we didn't have any breakdowns. A 2021 machine breaks down more than a 10,000-hour 2001 machine. And it's because it's a sensor here, it's a sensor there, it's a solenoid here. It's just, they're not big breakdowns, but they stop your job. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, so that's the first thing I'll tell you, that the regulation is not there. And then the government pushing, there's a natural attrition to construction equipment. There's a 20, 25-year tail. And most contractors like us, if you looked at all of our mainline, everyday use, high utilization, utilized equipment, it's within 5 years old. So it's all new. But for the most of what we're burning, it's with fibers, dump trucks, that's smaller excavators. The government, when they first came out with these in California, they bankrupted about half of the big excavating contractors. Went through and made them all repower, and some of them they gave grants to, but some only half grants. Well, repowering a 657 scraper is $500,000, and so what happened there was, I'll tell you how it goes. So they repower these scrapers, they use them for a year, they go broke. I buy them at the auction for $35,000, and we haul them down to Salem. We did a big job, a fleet of scrapers that came out of Southern California. So it's just government they don't know the consequences to what they're doing. And they don't recognize, I probably don't care, but they don't understand the impacts. You know, I've sat back when the agencies dealt with this question, and I know you're playing with fire when you're playing with Salem, and there's an agenda there, but it'll happen naturally soon enough without damaging us. And if they, and believe it or not, I do believe that the sensors will get better. They're going to work. It's going to come down to everybody's has the same problem, getting all these cheap sensors from China at the same place, to, gee, we want to have the best reputation, we want to build the best machine. We're going to spend the most money on our sensors to make sure they don't fail. Wiring harnesses, that's the other thing. We've increased the heat under the hood for all these machines, and they're just cooking all the wiring. So, you know, you're dealing with problems that are, they're boogeyman problems. Like, you know, where is that wire that's bad, that's sending the code so I can't start the machine? It's not fun. So I will tell you that we're burning more fuel today. We're having more breakdowns today. Our equipment has increased 40 or 50% cost since 2001, and we're living with it. Play like that.
Understood. Is there, do you see any, with knowing those problems that have been being dealt with since this stuff came out in the last decade, is there any technological advances or anything to deal with those problems that you see, or if you guys are working on? Or
I think we're just dealing with it. I do believe in our manufacturers, and I believe that they're all trying to improve, and they will. It's just gonna, the problem we have is that the government takes it to tier 5, tier 6, and they keep them off balance to where they can't catch up. Then they're gonna be spending all their money on trying to pass that next tier level. So all their R&D is gonna go into that and not trying to stabilize and make the machine more reliable that they're selling.
The one thing from my perspective is that, you know, they want to try to make contract rules to promote that, you know, discriminate between bidders. State can provide. City of Portland tried to do that. You know, you could have a non-tier machine on a job for a couple of days, and you got to move off. So you can play games, but I just think that's just a quagmire for contractors to have to get.
So let's talk about moving dirt here in Portland. So if you're building this site today, this time of year, you're going to have what's called a compactor here. It's going to be a sheep's foot compactor. It's probably going to be a Cat 815 or 825. Look, so you know, most of the 825s in Oregon are 1980 to 1990. They cost around $50,000 to $75,000. A brand new one that meets tier compliance is $750,000 that you're going to use for 2.5 to 3 months a year. There's a problem there.
As far as technology goes, though, there's certainly been some advantages in new technology with GPS, you know, grading. Our productions have gone through the roof with new gear that's out there. It's getting to the point where, you know, maybe this labor shortage won't matter here. We don't need laborers or operators anymore. They're all robots driving. So
There's one person sitting in the trailer running 2 or 3 machines at the same time.
is that kind of technology in the cab or from a desktop, whatever, changing the type of people that you're bringing on as operators? And
it certainly takes an unskilled operator to explode it.
It's not changing who we're looking for, but it's changing who we're getting.
We're looking for labor, not skilled labor.
Okay. We'll do one last kind of joint question here before we kind of open it up for questions. But so the best advice you can give the next generation of leaders, either starting a company or young in a company, best advice you can give them, and then what's the best advice you would give yourself if you knew what you know now when you started the company?
The best advice I give someone is don't be afraid to fail. I think that too many people, and I see this in our young group of new owners, that they're afraid to do something because of failure. I'm a firm believer that you learn more from failing than you ever learn from not trying to do it in the first place.
And, you know, we talked about work-life balance, and, you know, when I decided to come to Kerr, I mean, I sort of hung my star on this person right here, but I knew that it was going to be an uphill climb to do it. But I was willing to sacrifice. I mean, when you tell your spouse that, you know, it might be 10 years or, you know, I'd been there over 10 years before things started to, you know, kind of start coming in, and you had to be willing to sacrifice, and you just don't get it overnight. It takes time.
I would say that the barrier of entry, you know, for us, we weren't smart enough to know what that was. How much money was really going to take, has increased, but still, it is a very satisfying trip to start a company and grow it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, I know how many months I didn't sleep, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I get up every day, and I still have. I'm headed to work, you know, and I think that the most important decision you'll ever make is who your spouse is, and that is probably the most critical part of your success.
36 years.
So, and that doesn't matter if you're starting a company or not. I still think that's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the audience or anybody on the virtual session there?
This guy's been, he's been had his hand up.
First time he's ever been patient.
Yeah. I came out late. I didn't come to the construction field until I was in my late 20s when I had some injuries and realized I couldn't work in the field anymore. Went back to college, got my degree in construction management, and realized I was behind the curve a lot coming into the office at almost 30. And to see how much has changed in the last 15 years from my first day on a job site where it was all paper plans, hand drawing sketches for RFIs, faxing them in, calling everyone on the phone, no such thing as email, to nowadays it's 100% online. We've all been vaulted into technology this last year with everything on Zoom, Teams. How has Kerr Contracting adjusted with that over the years, coming from a paper and pencil world to almost a fully digital, where with our company, our almost entire office staff work almost 100% from home last year?
Well, I think God's rather than here. Because
You know, we struggle with that. I mean, certainly, even though I like that kind of stuff, I still print plans. I'm one of the only people in the office who prints them out still. And,
but we're on the leading edge of everything.
well, we're trying, because if you don't, you're done. I mean, so I mean, it's been hard. We've actually had more people come in. I haven't missed a day in the office since the whole thing started, and we've had a lot of people there, but we've had a lot of people who, you know, for other reasons, you know, are in and out, and we were able to try to catch up to that. And we've already had systems in place, and we helped Wheatman, you know, ramp up quickly because they weren't really set up to do anything, cloud storage, all that kind of stuff. And then the hardest thing we've had is that there's too many standards, like ODOT won't follow ours and we have to go with theirs. Private owners may or may not want to use the system we have. And so that's I just wish there'd be some convergence on some basic standards, but I'm amazed at the people that come out of school that, they adapt well to staring at a screen and, following through and just trying to, do everything electronically.
How have you done having the field side embrace it? Because we know a lot of times your airport contractor comes in and you're lucky if they have a job trailer on site. A lot of times they're working on their truck and you're lucky if you can get a guy on site that has an iPad. They use
Every guy for our field foreman and superintendents both have iPads that have plans on them. We still have paper plans on the jobs. The thing that's frustrating for us about technology is some of these younger guys that want to do this all day and or this all day. And they forget what a conversation is. They'll say, hey, I sent him an email or I texted him and, what did that mean? Did he hear you said? Did you talk to him? And the follow-up is tough. But as far as the technology and the use of it, we're electronic time cards out in the field. Every job you go across the street here now, you'll see 7 or 8 pieces of equipment that have got all the GPS grading gear on it. So, and our guys or gals out in the trailers on the site are updating models and fixing those things on the fly. So it's impressive stuff.
So the interesting part about it from my perspective is there'll be 4 people in a trailer and they'll communicate like this. I want them to go have a beer together and get creative. Really. There's a loss of creativity, in my opinion, when you're doing it this way.
Because it's just you. It's just you.
And so that's been a big push for us. Like I said, we're trying to create more of that, on-job team spirit. Let's get talking to each other. Ideas fall out of the sky when you get into a discussion.
Somebody asked earlier who we emulated or tried to emulate, and I don't want to give too much praise to Perla, but I watch what these guys do in this office here and watch how these guys work together and have fun together and do all the things they do and how they just love it. And I asked Jeff and Gail, I said, how do you keep all these people? Because I don't probably keep people. People want to come here all the time. And I talk to a lot of their project managers and project engineers on a daily basis, and it's a true story. And when you get that, that's pretty special.
Other questions? Anything in the chat?
Nothing online.
No other questions?
Is there anybody out there?
There is.
Okay, any,
In 33 years, have you had to repeat jobs that you did 33 years ago, and go back and go on and like Shoe Road, you're out 217 now. Great.
Oh, I can think of 2 or 3, 4 of those where we made it from 2-lane to 4-lane to 6-lane, and then redone them all again too. So
Where the Beaverton High School is, we worked there for 12 years, nonstop. It was a new sewer line, it was widening, it was that intersection, or that, what do they call that? It's not Beaverton High School, it's new high school.
oh, mountainside.
That mountainside. I mean, that stretch of road there, we were just there. It's like, we own it. Nobody else is gonna do any work.
Now there's houses everywhere.
Yeah.
That was before houses.
question over here?
She literally asked me that question.
Oh, hold up. Okay, anybody else?
I'll tell you, it is fun driving down the road and say, we built this road. My kids get tired of it. We built that road. We did this. We did that.
You said that the Stanton job was real. Did you do a good job on the railroad?
We did like 96. We went from 3 million a year to 13 million a year from 95 to 96 in sales. And in the last 4 months, we did like $6 million. It was all the 96 floods. It was I-84. We had been up to I-84 the year before, correcting a sewer problem that was 35 feet deep in Cascade Locks. And I was laying in bed. We were supposed to go up and correct a slip for the maintenance manager there at Cascade Locks. He called me at 10 o'clock at night and said, the whole freeway shut down, bring everything you got. Yeah, it was fun. Like I got on the phone, we lined up, I called Interstate Heavy Hauling, Gresham Transfer, Redmond Heavy Hauling, and our little Jippo little driver. And I said, you two guys be at Fulton Tractor in the morning, you two guys be at Triad, you two guys at Hessel, and I'll call you at 8 o'clock and tell you what you're gonna pick up. And we had 36 machines there that day, and our first shift was a day and a half long. So our guys just to keep things going and make sure we had the maintenance guy, and then we had Kiewit's guy right behind him saying, "You need to run these guys off. His personal friend. You need to run these guys off. We can do a better job for you." Well, we finished the job. So, and then we did slides everywhere. I mean, we had slide repairs everywhere. We did like 14 slide repairs that year. So that was a big picture. But that was, again, was 7 days a week. I mean, it could have been 26 hours a day. I mean, it was. And you run into some fun stuff. So we rented out the little hotel there at Cascade Lock for guys, right? The manager's saying, "You got naked guys in the hot tub. Come down here and solve it." Okay.
Yes, sir. The $100 bill story.
Yeah.
1,100 or what?
$100 bill. So we were working at Great Way, and I was building a subdivision out in Brentwood, California. At that time, Brentwood was the first subdivision in Brentwood ever. Brentwood was a little town of like 120 people. Now it's a town of, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000. And so we're 20 miles from the asphalt plant, and we're paving on a Saturday, and our paving machine breaks down. And I'm there with the paving foreman, and he says, we got 20 trucks on the road, where are we gonna dump this stuff? And I'm sitting there going, this is my job, I don't want to lose this money, what can we do? And at that time, one of our competitors drove by with a brand new paving machine on his low boy. So I always carry $100 in my billfold for emergencies. And so I got my little Toyota pickup and run the guy down, and got him to pull over, and I took my $100 bill out and said, I will pay you this $100 just if you call your boss to see if we can pay the machine. Doesn't have to answer, he doesn't have to say yes, you will get $100 just to call him. He called him, the guy said yes, brand new paper. I mean, not 1 pound of asphalt went through. And we paved our job and we lose it. And so if you, so I will tell you that I didn't care about getting paid. That was the last thing in my mind. All I wanted to do was make sure that my job did well. And that attitude of, I don't take no for an answer. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out right now. How can I get creative to solve the problem? It's what everybody ought to be looking for. So that's when we get people that are doing the $100, that's a new chant, is we're trying to get people to do the $100 bill story. And, you know, we had a deal this last week where we had some brush to haul off and some dirt to haul off, and our dirt dump was shut down that we had been using, and the superintendent was going to haul it to a place where he wasn't supposed to, that we have to maybe get in trouble. And I said, no, we're not doing that. And so he came up with a solution. He found another contractor that was hauling dirt to his job 3 miles away, and he hauled all the dirt there. And he actually beat his budget by $50 a load. He picked up like $5,500 that day anyway. Didn't have to pay a dirt dump fee, solve his problem. And that's what we're looking for. And in our business, you know, it can be very lucrative because of those things. It's not, you know, there's only so much you can do with that sheetrock. There's only so much you can do with that spiel. And what makes us our business very exciting is there is high risk and there's high reward. So there you go. That's my $100 bill story.
Like it. I think that's a good place to end on, unless there's any other questions.
Well, I'd just say, your guys' passion, the goal setting, the drive to be successful as you are in the market, has filtered down to your frontline coaches, team, your superintendents, your managers. And what I can say about working with you guys for as long as I have, it all makes us better, it all makes us sharper, it all makes us relook, rethink our goals, and I appreciate what you guys do in the market, for sure.
Thanks, Brandon. I got $100 bill
I was going for 100.
Okay, with that, we're here till 7:30, a little bit after. There's still some beverages left there, but Evan Clemson, chair of the CLC, committee, to come up and help close us out.
We get a round of applause for Justin. For the time. Also, thank you to Allie and Heidi and Geneva and Rich. They put a lot into making this come together. Don't mind giving me a hand, we'll distribute these double jacks. Gentlemen can do what they want with them. They can.
Some ventilation in here.
So as appreciation, we'll token here. We've got these double jacks for the event. Like I said, use them as you like. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. A couple of quick notes. Rick mentioned we got a couple events coming up, so keep an eye out for emails or get on the AGC website, look at the calendar. Top Golf's a good one coming up. Be really fun to see you guys and gals out there. And like Rick said, we're starting to do these again in person. They're going to get bigger and better. Really looking forward to that. So appreciate everyone coming out. Mingle, meet, chat. Like I said, we have a little time here left, and go from there. Thank you.